But I'll tell you what, when I'm done, my biceps are humongous. Humongous. Like that, bang!
My name is Anthony Bevilacqua, and I'm the host of New York Muscle Radio podcast. My arms have been a weak point for years. When I started training, my arms measured 11 inches. Even after many years of hardcore training, nothing would get them to grow. With the help of my co-host, Big E, we set out on a mission to gain 1 solid inch to my arms in 12 weeks.
In the greatest experiment of all.
12 weeks later, this program finally helped me get 18-inch arms. The 12-week Arm Experiment, the ultimate arm growth program, ebook, the audio book, and the workout video. Pick up your copy now on NewYorkMuscleRadio.com.
New York's very own muscle building coaches, Anthony Bevilacqua and Pete Kacharian, proudly present to you New York Muscle Radio.
What's up, guys? New York Muscle Radio, episode number 131. It's your host, Anthony Bevilacqua, alongside my co-host, Big Pete Kacharian, and welcome to the best muscle building radio show on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, wherever you're downloading this from. This is the best muscle building, fat burning podcast. Today's topic is elite level bench pressing with LS McClain. LS McClain competes in the USAPL raw, natural powerlifter. This guy's a monster. He's he's in my weight class, so he's kind of my enemy, arch rivals here. We need some arch nemesis music there, Pete. But he's in a 93 kilo class, and this guy's just a tank. And he recently, benched 501 at Raw Nationals, which is like one of the biggest powerlifting events. Bench press 501 pounds. Can you imagine that?
No, I can't. I mean, 500 pounds on anything is a really impressive lift. 500 pounds on a squat is impressive. 500 pounds on a deadlift is impressive. The bench is one of those movements where not many people really venture past 315 or even 405. So 500 on a bench is just, for any weight class, is pretty insane.
Exactly. So we got him on today. We're going to talk about elite level bench pressing and what it takes to get an elite level bench. So that's my plan, guys. So you invite your competition on here and you talk to him and you say, listen, give me all the right advices.
That's
not that hard.
That's the secret, guys.
Yeah, so LS is a really cool guy, and we'll talk about him a little later in the intro here, but he's a really, really cool guy, and was excited to have him on to this podcast today. But what's up there, big guy? How's it hanging?
Doing well, man. It is Halloween currently
listen,
while we're recording.
Man. Don't curse.
I know we might offend the 1%.
The runners in London might not like it.
Yeah, we'll keep this one PG rated. I think we could, if we tried, we could do one full episode without the explicit symbol on our podcast. What do you think? Is it possible? Probably not, right?
I was going to curse, but I'm like, I don't know. The people would expect
We should see how long. We should play a game. We'll see which one of us.
Whoever could curse first.
Yeah, let's see who loses first.
I'll probably lose. You don't really curse that much. Like on the air. See, you're a piece of crap because I cursed already.
Yeah.
Was piece of crap a curse?
No, I don't think that'll make explicit.
Oh, okay. No, because on the podcast, you're quiet. You pretend to be like this mild-mannered guy. In real life, you're a piece of crap. You're always cursing.
Yeah, well, since we're not cursing, the F word is a big part of my vocabulary. It's just ingrained in the way I speak, unfortunately. But, for podcast purposes, we gotta. I know, it's true. Seriously, that has nothing to do with the type of person you are. It's just part of, it's more of, I'm a product of my environment in that sense.
It's so true. I was driving the other day, right? And I get off the highway. And you know how, they kind of merge?
Yeah.
Like when you get off the highway, it merges onto the road. So I'm merging on the road, and this guy's, flying in the same lane. So I cut him off anyway. I'm not going to stop. First of all, I don't have a stop, so I don't have to stop. So he's, honking me, whatever. He gets next to me. And he rolls down his window. He starts cursing me. So I'm cursing him back. I'm like, what's the rush? And we're fighting back and forth for 5 minutes, screaming and cursing at each other. It's just, this is what happens in New York. It's totally normal.
I was about to say that's completely normal. If you don't have that happen, then it's a good day.
Yeah. It's so funny. You drive anywhere else, and everyone's drives so slow. Just in general, everyone. If you go like that, especially down by Florida, everybody's so la-di-dee, la-di-da.
It's crazy though. Once you leave New York and you head into Jersey, all of a sudden it's like people don't know how to drive.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Jersey's not as bad. Jersey's probably close to New York, but
That's what I'm saying. It's that close to New York, but there's a huge difference in New York drivers than Jersey drivers. That's for sure.
The funny thing is, in the city, when you use your signal, you have to do it after you make the maneuver. Like the city, you have to cut someone off and then put your signal on. That's kind of how it works.
Yeah, well, you have no other choice.
Yeah, city driving is the worst.
Oh yeah, completely different.
Anyway, what else has been going on with you, man? Yeah, so today's Halloween.
Today is Halloween, yes. So I am currently finishing up eating my Halloween candy. My Halloween candy of choice tonight was...
Incorrect. You're eating the Halloween candy that you were supposed to give out to the kids, and you refused to answer the doorbell when they came because you wanted the gains to yourself.
True story. Well, partially true, actually. So I did answer this door, but I'll confess to my Halloween secret that I have going on here. Secretly or selfishly, I did want Airheads to myself, but I'm a red guy. I like cherry. I'm not a fan of grape or orange or anything like that. So I figured, you know what? If I'm going to buy Halloween candy, I'm going to buy a few bags of Airheads. I'm going to take all the red ones out and the blue ones too. And I'll save the orange, the purple, the watermelon, and the mystery flavor for all the I
love the mystery flavor. I was waiting for you to pull that one out. I love that white flavor.
I did give the trick-or-treaters some mystery flavors. So it's not like I didn't give them the good flavors. It's a mystery. So, but
guys, you see what I'm talking about?
I had to keep the red for myself.
See, you are a piece of crap. You just pretend not to be on the podcast. I don't know why your true self hasn't come out. Listen, remember when we started cursing on this podcast, we got like double the amount of listeners. So as soon as maybe you start cursing, we'll make top 10.
Maybe that's the secret.
Maybe. But yeah, so it's All Hallows Eve and All Hallows Eve. That's what it's called, actually. I forget what actually in religion what it means. Do you remember?
I have no idea. No.
Isn't it like a cleansing of the dead today? Something like that. Because tomorrow's All Saints, not All Saints Day. Oh, man, I'm horrible at this. I'm a horrible Catholic. Isn't tomorrow something else? Like in the Catholic, it's All Hallows Eve and then something else is tomorrow?
I don't know. A good rule of thumb somebody told me once was never ask a question you don't know the answer to.
Come here, my wife. My wife is telling. Come here.
There you
my
go.
wife is telling me. So wait, we're gonna get my wife on the podcast.
She's gonna save you there.
She puts a little pepper in her step. Come on, hurry up, speed it up there, Sister Sledge. Wait, so tomorrow's All Saints Day. Talk into the mic.
I don't know if it's today or tomorrow. No, it has to be tomorrow. Because I went to Catholic school when I was
talk into the mic.
And they used to make us do this whole thing at church. We had to dress up as a saint, and every year it happens on Halloween. But I do think that it's November 1st.
Yeah, it's all.
Okay.
So what's Halloween? Isn't it like something with the dead? Like the dead get cleansed or something like that?
I don't know.
Yeah, how many years you go to Catholic school and you have no idea?
I don't know what Halloween is.
All right, thanks for your time. Thanks for your time, wife.
Guys, lesson learned. Never ask a question you don't know the answer to yourself.
Pete's making fun of you. He said, never ask a question you already know yourself. She just not shook her head and walked away. Oh, God. All right, let's move on to the quote of the day, man. So today's quote of the day, you picked this one out. So you want to read it?
Yes. So we're going with the trend. It might have been on the last podcast that we actually did a Bruce Lee quote that we stole that one from Ray Williams, the over 1,000-pound squatter. But so we're kind of on a Bruce Lee kick right now.
If you think about it, the last two powerlifters we had on this podcast, combined lifts, 1,000-pound squat, and then a 501. Actually, well, I don't want to skip that part, but whatever. He did over 500-pound bench. That's 1,500-pound total. That's like my total in 2 lifts.
2 lifts, yes.
All right, go ahead.
Anyway, so going with the Bruce Lee quotes, actually, this one's a little bit different. This one is, simplicity is the key to brilliance. And I thought this one was really fitting for everything that we do here at New York Muscle Radio. It's something that I truly believe in. Probably every aspect of my life comes down to this. But for fitness-related stuff, for the podcast, New York Muscle related, if you take anything away from what we promote here, it really is simplicity is the brilliance. And what I mean by that is, as far as your training, your nutrition, your lifestyle, everything related to your fitness goals, keep it simple. There's so much, we always say this, there's so much misinformation out there in the fitness community. talking about terrible dieting strategies. You have to eat 6 meals a day. You have to do 2.5 hours of cardio a day. If you want to lose weight, you have to eat no carbs. All these little stupid details, when in reality, you could get the same results or better results keeping it simple. So, you want to lose fat, be in a caloric deficit, however you want to do that. If you want to do it eating 6 meals, if you want to do it eating 5, if you want to eat it doing 1, keep it simple. You do what you need to do, and don't make it complicated. A lot of people make this fitness game complicated. And
yeah, I'm cutting you up.
No, go ahead.
Sorry. We actually had a client that we were recently doing a program for, and which, by the way, coaching is now available also. So again, if you guys head on over to NewYorkMuscleRadio.com, you can click on that coaching tab because coaching is back on. But we had a client and we were going through what she was currently doing, and it was kind of all over the place as far as like, I have a low day here, I have a high day here, I have this many carbs when I do legs, and this and this and this. It was all over the place, and we just kind of looked at each other and said, all right, let's just level this all out and make it simple. And you know what? Of course, when you do all that, it may seem like, oh, that's it.
Yeah,
like
you're not giving.
But there is no magic. That's the thing.
Right. That's the truth. That's the truth of the matter. I mean, there's so many little things that people pay attention to that doesn't add up to anything significant. You're overcomplicating all these minute little details, but the big picture is what makes the difference. So, you might have it in place because of the big picture, but the little details might fall into place with that, and, you're good. But you don't need those little things in place for the big picture to make sense or for it to work.
It's funny because we keep using Bruce Lee, but he has all these good quotes. But I remember when I was a kid, Bruce Lee, one of my friends once told me, yeah, but you want to get arms like Bruce Lee, you just got to take a 45-pound plate and hold it out, like in the curl position, like in the mid-curl.
Yeah.
And your arms will grow, because he used to do that for like 10 minutes or whatever the crazy thing was that he used to do. Like, that's how you get big arms. That was one of the things I never tried because it just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, but Bruce Lee didn't have any significant amount of muscle on him.
Bro, this is what I heard when I first started working out. So
Yeah.
This just goes to show you, keep things simple. Just use the arm program and you'll get big arms.
Exactly. But it is true. I mean, I know. We're talking about it a lot, but it really is true. So if you have anything that you guys are currently doing or trying to accomplish, like if let's say you're right now you're thinking about starting a cut diet, you want to lose a little bit of weight, and you're thinking, okay, so I need to eat these foods, I need to eat these meals a day, I need to get these supplements. I need to do this amount of cardio a week. I need to do all these little details. I need to stop eating carbs after this time. I need to eat protein and fats in one meal and carbs and fats, or carbs and proteins in another meal. Cut all that shit out. Just focus on simplicity. Get yourself in a caloric deficit. Eat enough protein. Fit your meals in the way it works for you. Eat the foods that work for you, and then just be consistent with it.
Yep.
And it'll work.
Very true. So that was the quote of the day, man. And I forgot actually to mention this, but we mentioned in the last podcast how we were going to test out doing a video podcast. Mm-hmm. I actually mistakenly called it a live podcast, but it was a success. We recorded it. It won't be out till next week. So when you guys hear this, it'll probably be out next Thursday or Friday. But it came out actually really good. I'm excited for it, and I'm excited for the growth of the radio show, which is what we're going to be calling this now, because all around we're going to encompass a lot more doing that. And I'm just super excited about it, man. I think it's going to be a good thing. And it was a little weird at first because you were yelling at me not to look at the camera. And it's going to be, overall, it's going to be really, really good. I'm excited to have new elements on it, because then if we bring back the fitness review segment, we can actually show you the products, and we can have exercise demonstrations. I'm just excited because it's just going to bring a whole nother element to this radio show, and I'm ecstatic about it. I really am. And it's so funny because everything happens for a reason, and sometimes you need to be pushed in the right direction to do it. So the server crashing and the whole issue that we had going on was a blessing in disguise, I guess, because it's pushing us to new limits, and iTunes can't hold us back anymore.
Yeah, you can never become complacent. That's always when you're gonna start. That's when your downfall starts. So we got to keep moving forward.
That's it. All right, let's move on to the shout-outs portion. So again, guys, if you want to shout out, you can like us on Facebook, facebook.com/New York Muscle Radio, or you could hit us up on Instagram. I'm at ABFitness and Pete's at Jacked Fitness. All right, so the first shout-out is to Alex Alderidge. He wrote on our Facebook page. He wrote underneath the meme that I put up for the podcast I put out, and he goes, "You guys cracked me up going off on the hater on the show today. Loved it." So you see, when we curse and go nuts, people love it.
Yeah, we didn't get any response that we were I was about to curse, actually. Have we done that yet? No, we're still good,
I
right?
think I cursed already. I don't know if I did or didn't.
I was about to curse, but I want to make sure I still win, so I'm not cursing in case.
Oh, you want to make this a competition?
I told you we're playing a little game. We're gonna see who curses first. But no, I didn't see anybody who commented and said, you guys were out of line for what you did. So
I really don't care what they can unsubscribe too.
no, I'm just
I
agreeing.
really don't care what anyone thinks. They can
I'm-
unsubscribe too.
I'm just agreeing that I I think our fans, they're on the same page as us in terms of we speak our minds and we tell it like it is.
Yep. All right, so another shout out to our client Logan Duckett, because actually today's Halloween and I had put up a picture of myself. I dressed up as Captain America for my daughter, which was actually really funny when I pulled up at school to pick her up and I was in the full Captain gear, helmet,
That's
shield,
cool, man.
the whole bit. She looked at me. First she didn't know who it was, and then she looked at me, she started smiling and laughing. It was really, really cute. It was funny. So shout out to Logan Duckett because he actually emailed us his Halloween costume, and he's one of our clients. He was Wolverine. He looked really good in his costume too. So shout out to him. And we're going to shout out LS McLean again. Again, we're having him on the podcast. So it's perfect time to shout him out for it because after a week after Nationals, which is where he did the 501-pound bench, we had him on the podcast. I like to think that maybe we, in this podcast, we maybe helped him out a little bit there, Pete. We gave him enough motivation to push it to the next level. But a week after Nationals, he entered another. Again, I'm gonna totally butch this because I don't know any details of the contest, but I think it was in Costa Rica and he was representing the USA. He took first and he did a 513.7 pound bench press in the 93 kilo class. That's over 300 pounds more than he weighs. So shout out to Ellis McLean, who we have on this podcast. Who we were drooling at the fact that he did over 501. Now he did 513.7. So shout out to him. That's insane.
Man, those numbers, I'm not gonna lie, that motivates me to train heavy. Because every time you think that you're strong, somebody else comes out and does something that makes you just feel like you're weak as hell. And
yeah, that's good. It's motivation. Like I said, he's in my weight class. How do you think I feel? You have to really think about that, man.
I really have to think about that.
You really
one.
have to pause and think about that.
I have to pause and think about that one.
All right, guys, let's move on to the listener question of the day. Again, if you guys have a question you want us to answer, you can submit it on our website at newyorkmuscleradio.com/listener-question. So today's question is by Tracy Canfield. And she says, wait, Canfield, isn't that the people who made the chicken soup for the Soul book?
No, that's... Oh, I was going to say no. I was going to say no, that's Campbell, because I thought you meant chicken noodle soup.
no, the book.
I think it's Canfield.
That's what her last name is, Canfield.
Canfield? Yeah, I think that it, yes.
I wonder if there's a relation. That would be cool. I would love to have him on the podcast. Chicken soup for the fitness
Yeah,
soul.
I was about to say, let's do a fitness edition.
That's what we'll call it. All right, anyway. Hi, guys. Love the podcast. I have a question about programming. Say you wanted to work on your shoulders and hamstring development at the same time. Could you create a program that you set up progressively and, say, do 2 days and hit one body part in the morning and one in the afternoon? And would it be better to do 3 days shoulders and 3 days hamstrings, or do one part at a time with your arm building program? Thank you for your feedback and insight. So
you want to go ahead with this one?
Well, I don't. I'm just trying to digest the question.
Yeah, there's a little.
So
it's a little confusing.
So I think I understand. Say you wanted to work on your shoulders and hamstring development at the same time. Could you create a program that you set up progressively, and say you do 2 days, hit the body part in the morning? I think they're asking how they could, if they want to work on shoulders and hamstrings at the same time, what you would have to do.
Right. Yeah. So the basic question is, can you set up a progressive program that specializes in bringing up shoulders and hamstrings, and can you do it at the same time? If so, how?
Correct.
So, yeah, I mean, the answer to that is absolutely yes. Most of the time, like I've mentioned before, if you're trying to bring up a certain muscle group, I'd say you'd have one that you'd want to focus on as your main priority and the second one as a secondary priority. So in this case, let's just say you do want to try and keep it as even as possible. Shoulders and hamstrings are pretty much, there's no overlap in training them. So you actually can pretty much set that up almost 50-50%. You don't have to do anything like you described where you just split it up into workout A and workout B for the day. You don't have to do 2 days or anything like that. If you want to, you can do that. But you could just do it as simple as, let's say you're only training them both once a week right now. split it up, train shoulders on its own day twice a week, hamstrings on its own day twice a week, or if you even wanted to do it 3 days a week, you could do 3 days shoulders, 3 days hamstrings. And then, when you're doing that, make that your primary focus for the workout. If you want to throw in a secondary exercise or muscle group, like let's say you want to do shoulders and you want to do triceps, secondary, you can do that, but make sure you focus on shoulders first, give it your full attention, then do the secondary muscle group. If you're trying to focus on bringing both of them up at the same time, I wouldn't recommend doing shoulders and hamstrings in the same workout because one of them is going to suffer. So if it was me, I would probably set it up in such a way where I did shoulders maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, hamstrings Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and then just be progressive with the sets and reps, and then put the rest of my muscle groups as secondary exercises throughout the week.
I agree with everything you said, except the only thing you have to remember too, don't get fooled by how many times a week you're doing a body part and how often you're hitting it, because all that's going to matter is that total volume. So again, if you're doing, I don't know, whatever, let's just say 6 sets for shoulders a week, and then automatically you're doing, you go to 3 days a week and now you're doing 21 sets of shoulders. Obviously, they're going to grow because the volume pretty much tripled. So you want to keep that all into concept. If you're already right now doing 6 sets of shoulders and 6 sets of hamstrings, up it to maybe 8, and then go from there. And then spread those 8 sets out throughout the week. Don't automatically jump into something like what my co-host said if your volume's already low. So I think you have to look at that first and foremost, and then go from there. Like I said, if you're doing shoulders, 8 sets. Don't jump into 3 days a week doing that unless you want to do, whatever.
Yeah, it's all progressive.
You can do it either way. Yeah.
Based on where you're at right now. So yeah, if you're just doing them once a week, low volume, increase the volume, increase the frequency a little bit. If you already have done that and you have room for more, you can go ahead and do that.
I know, like Eric Helms has mentioned, in his pyramid, his muscle and strength pyramid, to focus on the poundage, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I think it's easy to just focus on the amount of volume you're doing, man. I think that's easier. Yes. Okay, I'm doing 10 sets for shoulders. It's going to be within the relative concept. As long as you're focusing on the sets. When I was doing purely bodybuilding training, that's what I was focusing on, counting my sets. I was doing 20 sets for chest, 20 sets here, 20 sets there, whatever. And that was what was working for me to grow a body part. So that's what I would focus on. I wouldn't go into all the detail and doing sets and reps. I mean, I guess it makes a difference, but if you're tracking overall volume as far as sets go, I think you're good to go.
Remember, simplicity is the key to brilliance, so apply that. Don't overcomplicate it.
From my Asian co-host.
If sets and reps work and total volume, you're good. Don't go crazy, worrying about details that don't matter as much.
All right, guys, we're going to take a short commercial break, but before we take that short commercial break, I just want to remind you, go and subscribe to our YouTube channel, because that's going to be our backup channel just in case anything ever happens again. It's youtube.com/AB Fitness Trainer. So again, go to our YouTube page, youtube.com/AB Fitness Trainer, and subscribe. This way, I'll always put out the podcast on that too. So just in case anything happens, you'll get the podcast on there. All right, guys, we'll take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back with Big L.S. McClain.
Damn.
Nice, Pete.
What?
I saw you checking out that girl's butt.
What? I was just checking out her yoga pants.
Pete.
I was thinking you'd look really good in yoga pants.
Uh-huh.
I was trying to check out what brand it was. I was looking at her form on deadlifts. They were all messed up.
Do you think she has a nicer butt than me?
Well, it definitely doesn't look like a pancake.
Did you just call my butt a pancake?
Well, I mean...
What can I do?
You gotta try New York Muscle Radio's Glutylicious program.
Glutylicious?
Yeah, you'll finally get a celebrity booty, like all the other girls following the program.
Fine, I'll do it. But don't get jealous when other guys check out my glutylicious ass.
Glutylicious, your guide to getting a celebrity booty in 12 weeks. Now available exclusively at NewYorkMuscleRadio.com.
Want anything special for your birthday?
Just a decent cup of coffee.
You're kidding.
I'm serious. Honey, your coffee's undrinkable.
It's pretty harsh.
Well, so's your coffee. The girls down at the office make better coffee on their hot plates.
And he didn't even kiss me goodbye. If I could just make a decent cup of coffee, I could relax.
So relax. Why don't you try Coffeine from BuyProteinCoffee.com? Tastes good as fresh perk.
Good as fresh perk.
And it has protein. 10 grams per scoop.
I'll surprise Harvey for his birthday tonight.
Hey, great coffee.
Doesn't it taste good as fresh perk?
Better.
Better than those girls make at the office?
Honey, their coffee can't hold a candle to yours.
Coffee, the world's only instant coffee that's fortified with muscle-building protein. Visit buyproteincoffee.com now.
What's up, New York Muscle Radio listeners? It's your co-host, Big Pete Kacharian, and I'm glad you're all listening. Put down that tilapia and asparagus. Learn how to get bigger, stronger, and leaner eating what you want. Pick up a copy of Cracking the Flexible Dieting Code exclusively at NewYorkMuscleRadio.com. But for now, let's get to the show.
Hey guys, it's your host, Anthony Bevilacqua, and I just wanted to announce that my brand new personal training facility is now open. I'm currently taking on new clients in the Long Island, New York area. If you're interested in working with the best personal trainer in the business, head on over to abfitnesstrainer.com and sign up for your free consultation. Then you can understand why bodybuilding.com has named me Personal Trainer of the Month.
All right, guys, we're back. New York Muscle Radio, episode number 129, Elite Level Bench Pressing with L.S. McClain. Guys, before we even start this interview with this guy over here, this guy, elite level bench pressing, he did at Raw Nationals, probably one of the best raw powerlifting meets. Bench pressed 501. Insane. Under 205 pounds. Insane. LS, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Man, hey, I'm good, Anthony. How you guys doing? How you doing, Pete?
Doing good. LS, where do you live? I didn't ask you that question before.
I live in Texas, man. I live in Central Texas, the heart of Texas, right in the Austin area.
So that's his secret, Pete. He eats those big ass steaks that they have down there in Texas.
Dude, that's steak and potatoes every day. That's pretty much you got to do here.
I'm dying to go to Texas just to have that giant steak that if you finish it, you get it for free. I'm sure there's like a dozen places down there that have that.
Listen, there's a couple places down there you could do that, but yeah, man, that's up where actually kind of up there where I grew up in the northwest Texas area, man, up in Amarillo. They get you the 72-ounce sirloin. If you can finish it, dude, you get it for free. The only thing is, I've only seen a couple people finish it. Like it was like one small lady actually did it, man. She was like no bigger than like 120. Wow. Knocked it out.
All right, so that's the secret to elite level bench pressing. Go to Texas, eat steak and potatoes.
Eat a lot of steak, man. They make you kill your dinner around here. You got to find the steer, find the steer, slaughter them, cook them yourself. There it is.
All right, LS, so let's get into this. So how did you get into powerlifting, and what's your background? Kind of give us your whole story, because again, I don't know much about you as far as where you came from. I've just been watching you within the past year or so. I've been lurking on your page.
So I can't even say that I'm from the streets because that's a complete lie. So what I can say is this: I actually started powerlifting, man. I did, I think 3 meets in high school. Obviously, growing up in Texas, it's football here, and pretty much when I was in high school, that was when the trend started where you pretty much couldn't play football without powerlifting. It was pretty much just it's a given. So I mean, you had to do the 3 big lifts no matter what. And so I had a guy pretty much that got sick and couldn't go to a meet. I ran track, and the track meet happened to be in the same town as the powerlifting meet. And so I just kind of honestly just kind of did a stand-in for him. I didn't know anything about suits or shirts or anything like that as far as benching. So I pretty much did it raw. I did a t-shirt, some shorts, man, and some warm-up pants, and that was pretty much it. So I went in and I actually won the meet. And
running track, that was your preparation for that first meet?
Yeah, pretty much. Just pretty much being from a family of just, I guess, naturally strong people. I don't know. I avoided the weight room like the plague, my man. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't like weights. I didn't like spending time in the gym. I just didn't like the idea of just having to put this stuff above my head, putting it on my back. It hurt. I just didn't like it. I was stronger and faster than everybody, just already. So I was like, well, why do I have to do it? Pretty much, I was one of those guys. And after that powerlifting meet, it actually qualified me for the state meet, which I went to and I won. And So I was like, well, that's cool. I don't ever want to really do it again. The next year turned around, and somehow they got me back in another meet, and it was pretty much the same situation. I did one meet, qualified me for state, went to state and won. And that's pretty much my experience with powerlifting. And didn't touch it again until way later on, man. After college, I went to school, played football, and ran track in college, and that was pretty much it. That was my love, man. I wanted to play pro ball, and I wanted to somehow get into the Olympics, man. And so that was pretty much what I aimed my energy towards, man. Is just being the fastest, strongest dude out there without having to go to the weight room. How does that work? I have no idea. I just didn't ever want to go to the weight room. So. After I did really well as far as football and track went. I was a part of an amazing track and field team at Abilene Christian. They're in Abilene, Texas, man. You can Google the program. It's honestly going, I think, on like 65, 66 national championships, man. So I went there, got a fistful of rings, and had a good time and played ball. We had a really good team and chased the pro ball dreams, ran for a couple teams and ended up making a couple practice squads and that was it. I was done with sports after that. I was in love chasing chicks. So I ended up actually going to get my master's, man. And after I got my master's, I actually started picking up weightlifting a little bit more. Not very serious with it, but I just kind of picked it up. And
I'm just going to cut you off right there. 2 questions.
Okay.
1, how old are you?
36.
Okay. And 2, since you hated the weight room so much, what made you decide, all right, I'm going to start working out? Like, how did that happen?
Dude, honestly, man, you know how it is when you watch TV, and pretty much any red-blooded American male at this point, you watch TV, you see these huge guys, and you want to get bigger. Growing up, my dad, he was a huge bodybuilding fan. I'm talking like, the classic, the Mr. O, like he big Lee Haney fan, big Dorian Yates fan. So, big Sean Ray fan, huge Sean Ray fan. So I remember like seeing the magazines, all the muscle and fitness magazines and all that stuff, man, and kind of almost, the first big name I had ever heard of in terms of just branding was Weider, the Weider name, and I was like, man, what is all this stuff about? Not occasionally I would look through the magazines and like, dude, these dudes they're like real life, superheroes, but I just could never, commit myself to actually lifting the weights, man. And the older I got, the more I realized like, that might be something that I wanted to do. So I just started going to the gym. I just wanted to get bigger, pretty much like everyone. And I realized, like, it takes going into the gym to actually do it. And, I ain't gonna lie, I was bored. So I was like, well, I'm working a 9 to 5. I have a lot of, idle time on my hands. So let me, go to the gym and try to work out a little bit. And that's pretty much what I did. After I got, actually I moved away from Texas. When I moved back to Texas, I actually moved here to Central Texas. And that's when I really started, I guess, morally committing to actually having an actual schedule where I was going to make sure that I went to the gym at least 4 times a week. And, that's when, I kind of got reintroduced to powerlifting, man. The guys kind of made me go to a meet. And when I say made me, they literally made me go to a powerlifting meet, which I had to commit to, a year prior. So it was one of those things where I worked out. And at the time, they had just started that Raw classic division for the IPF, and they pulled up the guy who had won the first one. They pulled up his numbers, like, dude, your numbers are right with his, but it's going to take some time, for you to figure out your technique. So, man, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I spent almost a year just trying to work on technique. This whole time I'm thinking I'm squatting 700 pounds. I think I thought I was benching around, 550, 560, deadlifting, at least 700, man. And when it came time for actual technique, it dropped all those numbers down significantly. And I realized how strong I wasn't. And so I went to my first meet, and I'm not going to lie to you, it was completely different from the ones I had attended in high school, man. Like, the people were so nice. The camaraderie is that it was just, through the roof. And I fell in love with it. And I set a few state records. had a couple of unofficial national records, and it qualified me for nationals. So I went to the USAPL Nationals in 2012, and I won it. And at the time, it was just the 198 division. It wasn't 205 at the time. And of course, that next year is when they decided to adopt the IPF weight classes. So went there, won it, and then that was my first, I guess, introduction into international weightlifting as far as going up to Russia at the time. And man, that whole year was a whirlwind. I started at a small local meet and ended up on this huge stage in Russia representing my country, man. And from that point, that was 4 years ago. I haven't turned back since, man. I fell in love with it, man. I fell in love with it, fell in love with the people and just, the impact that you can have. So, that brings me to present day, man, talking to you fellas.
So when you first started training specific for powerlifting, what were your lifts like then, and what are they currently now at your best?
As far as my squat, my first squat that I
if you say over 500 pounds and close to 6, I'm just gonna hang up, bud. So if you don't hear nothing, that's
No, man, my first squat, my first official squat that I recorded at a meet was 500. It was like 523, something like that, and it was when I say it was everything I had in me to get that 520. It was everything I had. I barely made depth. I had a huge problem with depth. And then now, my last squat that I did, I could say gym squat, was 680. So it took a little time, a lot of technique, a lot of technical changes, man. I literally went from, I had the widest stance, and I was pretty much doing a sumo squat, and so I had to change that up. But I put on I'm working on putting on 200 pounds on that bad boy. It's gonna take a little time, but I'm in a pretty stacked class. Of course, my first deadlift was, I think I did 580, and my heaviest so far that I've done up to this point has been 745. My first bench that I did, my final bench, my first meet was 420, 440, something like that. So, and then for some reason I just dropped. I dropped down like after a year after that, I was in the threes, because I kind of lost love for bench. I kind of lost love for working my technique, man. So I almost lost 60, 70 pounds off of it. And then it just kind of skyrocketed pretty much a year after. So, the lifts, as far as, where they've gone, I put, well over 100 pounds on, squat and deadlift, without a doubt, almost 200 pounds as far as deadlift goes. It's just work as far as that bad boy goes. And of course, for bench, it's been, if I get it to where I need it to go, it'll be 100 pounds that I put on it by the end of 2016. So, my touch and go, I can touch and go 525 right now, but I would love to be able to hit a legitimate 550 touch and go sub 200 pounds. So we'll see how that works out. I don't know.
Wow. So what's a typical training routine / program look like for you? So leading up to Raw Nationals, what did your training look like? Just give us a little bit of a rundown with that.
Okay, well, we got up to the Raw Nationals, man. It was, it was kind of weird, to be honest with you, because I was literally running 2 programs at one time. I mean it by this. Prior to Raw Nationals, a month before that, I had Bench Nationals. So I had to pretty much run 2 separate programs at the same time, which, it kills your body. But, in the beginning, we'll say, normally you do around a 12-week program, but I did a 20-week program working into it. Just, I was murdering myself. But, obviously it had to be done, when you have 2 programs, 2 huge meets coming up. Going in, I think at one point, we were benching 5 times a week. And we would start with a heavy day. pretty much with heavy day, a medium light day, and then, another medium, and then an end in a heavy. And I mean, literally 5 days a week we were going at it. So as far as the benching and everything went, that was like the peak of it. That was when, we were really trying to get everything going leading into the beginning of September, September 12th when I lifted, or I should say September 11th when I lifted. So once we got, we would toggle in and out, I should say, every 2 or 3 weeks we'd hit a 5 time during the week, but most of the time we would drop down no lower than 3. And we'd pretty much average around 4 benching days per week, which is not necessarily typical, but what I was trying to accomplish, knowing that Raw Nats was coming up, we were almost going to have to, hit a real high peak as far as like the frequency and the volume, and of course the intensity of the programming prior to bench nationals. And then from there, we were almost going to have to cruise control in the Raw Nationals, if that makes any sense. Because there's just no way the human body can necessarily recover from benching that much, that often, without having some type of adverse effects. So we really ramped it up, man, as per my request, to really ramp it up to see kind of how my body would respond to it. Thank goodness it responded fairly decently and then of course we tailed off a little bit as bench nationals ended in that last little 2 or 3 week period going into Raw Nationals approach, and then we dropped it back down to 2 and 3 times a week, and just really focusing on technique, and having one like legitimately heavy day. Everything else just, really being like, more of a technical focus. And as far as everything else, man, I mean, squat and deadlift, they both toggled in and out of 3 and 4 days a week. The big thing about, working with Ben Esgro is that he adapts the program to you. It's not necessarily a cookie cutter program. It's pretty much what your body can handle. And there's days that you wish for death. And then there's days that you just, you're like, I feel like Superman, and you just want to go. And usually the way he does it, the way he programs it, I have no idea how he does it. But those days that you feel like Superman, those weeks that you feel like Superman, those are usually the ones that you're doing, the highest frequency, the highest reps, the highest amount of weight. So if your body can handle the workload, you roll with it. And there was, we just got acclimated as quickly as possible. And we got the workload rolling, and it was, I can't say smooth sailing, but it was definitely a challenge, pushing through. So it ended up being a lot of fun. I mean, and as you can see, man, it turned out pretty, with some pretty positive effects. So,
well, what did you bench at the bench meet, and then what did you do at Raw Nationals?
At the bench meet, I actually just did 485. Okay. We put 496 on the bar, and man, you know how it is when you get on the bar and you're getting your press going and you feel it. You get to that 3/4 point where you feel like a little bit of a sticking point. Now you have the choice: am I going to drive through, or am I going to fight it, or am I just going to live to fight, another day? Well, I knew that I had Raw Nationals coming up, and so I already had the win. I mean, not no disrespect to my my competition, but I mean, I won with my opener. So we hit the second one, and we tried for the third. I caught a cramp in my back, and rather than trying to fight through all that, we just let it come on down. So I actually benched more at a 3 lift than I did at a single lift, that's a first. That's a definite first. But I mean, that 501 actually tied my PR from last year. I did an NAPF bench only, and I did 501 there. So I don't know. I feel like I had a little bit more left in the tank. But yeah, man, it was fun, dude. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was just a lot of fun to actually get that press off. I mean, and again, in the back of my head, I kind of thought back to kind of like you talked about, like what I did at bench nationals. I actually ended up doing more than I did at bench nationals. So ended up being a lot of fun, dude. I'm not gonna lie to you.
So your training sounds like it's pretty high volume, really high frequency, and just
Yes, sir.
you mentioned that it's pretty much brutal. How long do these workouts usually take? Are they very long also, long in duration?
Yeah, you know what, they are. I'm a huge believer in getting my rest in between. I mean, you know as well as I know, man, there's no possible way that you're going to ever get that full recovery, when you're getting as many training sessions a week, when you're benching I mean, I can give like an average week is, I'm benching 3 to 4 times a week. I'm squatting 3 to 4 times a week. I'm deadlifting, 3 and 4 times. Like, there's no possible way your body's going to ever get that full recovery. So I try to focus on listening to my body within the realm of the workout, that particular training session, and I try to get as much rest as possible. That being said, I might end up, taking, a 5 to 10 minutes, sometimes a 15-minute break in between sessions, especially with my benching sessions, because normally I bench and squat the same day, and I usually superset those. So I'll, as soon as I get done with one, I go right to another, and once I'm done with that, I'll give myself like a 10-minute break in between, and boom, I'll go right back to it. I typically might go in at 1 o'clock, and I may not leave till 6 o'clock that night. Thank God I'm a cheerleading coach, and so the majority of my
You must look great with tutu and pom poms in your hand.
Oh, let me tell you, I'm the most beautiful man you'll ever see with some palms in your hand. Not gonna lie to you. Yeah, so it's I like to consider myself a pretty man when it comes to getting on the sideline. But yeah, my kids every now and again they're like, Coach, put a palm in your hand. Like, I will not do that. I will not. So yeah, it's we spend a little bit of time at the gym, man, and it's thank goodness it's a release, and I get a lot of stuff done while I'm there. I mean, I just try to make sure that I get as much quality time in these workouts as possible, just because I'm the last thing you want to do at this point is like hurt yourself leading into a meet. So I mean, if I feel an ache, if I feel the heart rate up a little bit higher than I want it to be, then I'll wait till the heart rate drops, and then I'll go in there. I mean, the biggest thing that a lot of lifters do, especially when you're I guess this late in the game, is you forget that you're never going to have like a 5-minute rest in between attempts. Usually you're going to get it between a 10 to 15 minute break in between each of the lifts. So I try to recreate that every single time that I go and I train. It sucks, I mean, because you feel like you're there forever. But I like for my body to be as close to game time as possible. So I mean, I wanted to hit that point where like, all right, I just went maximum effort with this. Okay, now I have to rest for a little bit longer than normal. Okay, now it's time to pick it back up and go. So I try to treat each training session like that.
So I'm curious, if you're in the gym that long, what do you do as far as nutrition to keep yourself fueled throughout that workout? Do you snack on stuff in between sets?
Oh
like,
man, yeah. I mean,
steak and potatoes.
Man, listen, if I weren't afraid of getting kicked out of that gym for eating steak and potatoes, I would. But I mean, thank God, De Novo's my sponsor, me, because I'll sit there and I'll drink Max and PS shake. I'll probably have a couple of those just throughout that training session. And I have a buddy that actually does my food prep now because I'm just that lazy and I suck at cooking. So I'll take a meal with me and I'll take a couple of shakes and I'll knock a shake off right before I start the training session, and I'll take a break in between, eat a little bit, and then I'll do that post training shake, and then I should be good to go, So it's obviously, I mean, you guys know it's one of those things where you have to make sure you get that nutrition in, while you're doing it, just because you're gonna run out of gas. There's no way you can keep that whole thing up without running out of gas. So I just try to make sure that I try to intake is smart. I guess as intelligently as possible while I'm training, kind of without, just eating myself, out of the game. So it hadn't been too bad so far. So far it's kind of working, and of course it helps me with my weight management, man, because, otherwise, it is you eat and, you get a good session in, and then the first thing you want to do is just eat anything that's, that's in front of you. So at least try to come, I leave the gym a halfway satisfied stomach, so I don't go home just trying to scarf everything in eyes length. So.
Got it. So let's move on to benching now. So it seems that some of the strongest competitors currently are very dominant in the squat and deadlift, but have trouble bringing up their bench. You're a very strong bencher. So what do you kind of attribute this to?
You know what, man? I will be honest with you, Anthony. The craziest thing that I remember growing up. I mean, my dad's a strong dude. I have a lot of just strong cousins, so I could blame it on genetics. I mean, I could use a genetics cop out, but
let's put that aside then.
Yeah. So though I didn't, I've always had a pretty strong bench, as long as I can remember. Even in junior high, no lie. I remember I did 275 in junior high, and I wanted to get the 3 plates so bad, but I couldn't get it. I think it was the last week of my 8th grade year, I actually got 315, and I thought I was the strongest man alive, man. I've just always had a pretty strong bench, but I can attribute a lot of it to the fact that I didn't really like going to the weight room. So what my dad would make me do, I would have to do a lot of push-ups, man. I used to do a lot of push-ups because that's what Herschel Walker did, and I wanted to be the next, greatest running back, but I didn't want to lift a lot of weights. But my dad was Herschel Walker. He does over 1,000 push-ups every day. I don't know if I can do 1,000, but every day, like no joke, every day I would add 1 push-up to my regimen. So I mean, I started off. I remember my dad started me off with 5 when I was, I had to be like 10 or 11. I was playing Pee Wee football. I started with 5, and every day I would add 1. So he would give me Saturday and Sunday off. So every week I would try to add 5, and that was my trend all the way through football season, all the way through basketball season, through baseball and track. And then when the summers hit, I got to rest. I had to do a lot of running because it was track. It was summer track season. But during the school year, every week I would add 5, and I just kept adding them. So that was kind of the thing that I guess kind of helped out. I guess early on I did a lot of push-ups, man, because I wanted to be strong. I just hated the weight room. I really just didn't like it. So did like a lot of body weight squats, a lot of sit-ups, a lot of push-ups, man. But I feel like that kind of gave me a good foundation as far as just having, a stronger bench, a strong chest just kind of going in. And so whenever I did have the opportunity to bench, it was kind of like, I guess I've just been doing, body weight and partial body weight volume my whole life. So I guess I was, I just had a good foundation as far as bench goes. And then as, the older I got, the numbers kind of grew. The more my body matured, the more my numbers grew, and the more, of course, serious I started taking the technique. Of course, again, my numbers kind of grew. Leading up to present day, now it's really a case. I mean, obviously, I take pride in my bench, but I think I take more pride not only just in benching, but my approach to it. I try to, I look forward to it more so than I had in the past. So, I mean, anything that you look forward to, you tend to take a little bit more pride in, and you tend to be a little bit more confident. And so the more confident I become in the bench, it seems like my numbers are slowly but surely kind of growing. So I think it's a good thing, man. I think I got some I got a lot of gas left in the tanks. We'll see what we end up doing.
So then, as far as accessory movements, do you have anything in specific that you like to do that you feel helps you increase your bench, or is it mostly just practicing the bench?
Steak and potatoes.
Well, it's accessory movements for sure. I've been, I hadn't really done a lot of tricep work prior to getting to working with Ben. If you, man, if you were ever to go back and look at my older, my first few benches that I used to do in competition. I mean, though my grip isn't that wide, I always had a pretty narrow grip. I've always had a more narrow grip than I say my competition. So I was always really tricep dominant in the way I pressed. So in the past, I never really did any tricep work because that's just, I would just, that's all I did anyway as far as my bench went. So when I started widening it out, I realized like, hey man, I've worked my chest just, throughout life, but my triceps are fairly dominant. So, working techniques seem to help, kind of increase those numbers. Getting with Ben, I actually started doing more tricep specific work. In addition to actually adding like more shoulder work into it, and I had no idea that there was obviously I don't have any spinal flexibility, so I don't really have a good arch or anything like that. I just I try to grow my chest to the bar and I try to press, but I also started working a little bit harder at paying attention to where my grip is and paying attention to my breathing. Like small things, adding a little more tension, a little bit more pressure as far as like, the use of my breathing and the drive from the floor. Like a lot of things I just never thought of using, I started doing. And it, the 460 used to be the wall. Like I could go to 460 and that'd be it. Like it would just be like maybe 1 out of 5 times I would ever press past 460, but I just really just hitting the wall. And now it's 460 is just like, it's a warm up now, which, it's awesome, but that used to be the hardest thing. And when I finally started, working with Ben and him helping with my technique, and that first time I put 460 on the bar and it didn't feel like 460, that's when I knew like, hey man, I should probably listen to this guy a little bit more. So we've been working a lot of triceps, working a lot more technique, which has done wonders for my bench.
What in specific are you doing for your triceps?
I'm doing a lot of push downs, a lot of overhead, a lot of skull crushers, man. I really like doing skull crushers. I really, I feel like as far as just, catching, obviously the full extension of it all, but just like being able to bring it back down and catch that negative, man, I really feel like I get a lot out of it. And of course, man, you can't go wrong doing dips. I feel like more so now than ever. I feel like the use of dips period is fairly overlooked as far as powerlifting goes. You see a lot of bodybuilders, that rely on dips, man. But and I don't even necessarily do weighted dips. Body weighted dips is just really focusing on extending through and catching that negative coming back down. A lot of it, though it doesn't directly translate to a bench press, it does help you in terms of just focusing on that full extension and locking out. So that's been one of my I've fallen in love with just doing dips and skull crushers, man. I think they really help. Push downs, of course, they're a really good accessory, but I really feel like that dips and skull crushers, man, they can do wonders for you.
So all right, so I want to backtrack a little bit. So saying all that accessory movements, now going into the 2 meets that you had, Raw Nationals and the Bench Nationals, obviously you were doing accessory movement leading up into that. So did you end up cutting all that out? And so talk a little bit about that. So how many times a week were you doing triceps before that? And then how did your program look going into Bench Nationals and then into Raw Nationals? Was it cut out completely? Because I think a lot of lifters do too many accessory work all the way up into the meet. So I want to see how you started it and how you ended up into the 2 meets and how it ended up looking at the end. Okay, well, so what we did is when we first started, man, Ben does a really good job about he eases you into things. And so when I first started, I was just doing, small amounts, 3 and 4 sets, moderate weight. And of course I had the opportunity to actually kind of choose my weight. And then from there, then he kind of takes it and he runs with it. He kind of, he sees where you're at, sees where you're comfortable, and then you can kind of get pushed from that point. So I would start off, doing, maybe 1 or 2, maybe accessory lifts, to kind of help the bench, working into Bench Nationals. And the closer we got to Bench Nationals, obviously we kind of ramped up the volume, we kind of ramped up the intensity, and then of course, a couple weeks prior, then you start just literally just kind of trailing it off, and then that final week you still do a little bit. For me, I like to be able to do just a little, not too much. I try not to push through because I think a lot of lifters forget
that your body's getting a lot of work just with the compound lift itself. And though those assistant lifts they help a lot of times they can take away from your performance because you're hurting, you're doing more hurt than help leading into a meet. So even though you may not be doing, you may be doing say 65-75% as far as your actual bench goes, but you're going full out with your accessory work, you're murdering yourself. You're cashing out. So we trail off a lot when it comes time for the accessory lifts. Though I like to, to get it in, and I like to get that rest. I try to make it more of an active rest with just a little bit of tension going into the meet. And then, of course, when we finished bench nationals, we kind of ramped it back up. And so what though we knocked off, 1 and 2 days of actual bench days, we still picked up the intensity and the volume as far as the assisted lifts go. So, I mean, though I wasn't doing as many bench days, I still had, I had an additional day of assisted lifts as far as like my triceps and everything went, to make, obviously to make sure that, that I'm still getting, still getting enough stimulus, man. I needed that stimuli to really make sure that, that I was pushing forward, but at the same time, not burning myself out. So, as we got closer to Raw Nationals, I actually had the opportunity to cut it out altogether, and which was great. I mean, because by the time, man, you go 20 weeks hard. I mean, you guys know, you go 12 weeks hard. By the time you get to the end, man, you're cashed out. I mean, add an additional 8 weeks. By the time I got to the end, meaning I was getting ready for my peak and everything else, man, I was just spent. My body was hurting. Thank God my elbows and everything, they weren't hurting. I mean, I just my body was aching. So we had to cancel out a lot of that stuff just because you just start getting tired. You start getting broken down. I mean, you spend that long, just training for two meets at one time. I mean, you're going to get worn down. So, by the time we got to Raw Nationals, I completely cut out all assisted lifts altogether. It was just compound. We just worked compound lifts and just, making sure we focused on technique. And so by the time, the meet was there, I mean, I finally was able to really get fresh that final week going into Raw Nats, which, man, it definitely paid off, I feel.
So then, as far as training that many weeks in a row like that hard,
yeah,
and especially that amount of time each session, what do you do
yeah,
as far as recovery to just maximize it? Because obviously that's going to require a lot of additional work on recovery.
Oh, man, you're right. The biggest thing, man, there's really no substitute. I mean, in my opinion, it's not a professional opinion, but in my opinion, there's really no substitute for sleep. I try to get as much sleep as possible, without wasting my day. I made it a point to schedule a nap in my day every day, even if I didn't want to sleep. I made myself sleep just to make sure that I got that point where my body just had no tension and was just able to relax. At the same time, I'm really lucky in that I have a really good friend, Dr. Ryan Burns, who's in Arasti, who does just these amazing rehab treatments, man. So I would go in and, 2 and 3 times a week, I would just spend time, in his office, doing some myofascial release, a lot of, rolling. I roll a lot.
Do you do that? I'm sorry to cut you off, but do you do that before sessions, or do you do that usually after sessions?
I honestly, to be honest with you, as far as like, we have a PVC pipe here at home, and we have one at the gym. I roll before, during, and after. I keep a tennis ball, I keep a golf ball, I keep a lacrosse ball, and a baseball. I keep them on me at all times. I roll at all times. I just try to keep my body as loose as possible. Is like I said, if I'm gonna spend that, you hit it. If you're gonna spend that much time doing that much training, you have to make time for recovery. So I try to make sure that I do it whenever I can. So during those rest periods, though I am sitting, and kind of chilling, I'll hop on the PVC. I'll roll a little bit. I'll hop on the ball. I'll roll the hamstrings out, make sure my hips are loose. I really never stop, to be honest with you. At this point, I think it's fair to say it's just kind of a part of my lifestyle. I try to make sure that I'm just keeping my body loose, that I'm trying to keep my body rested as much as possible, especially on those, those 4 squats and 4 benches and 3 deadlift, weeks, man. That's just, it's almost not enough time. So you have to make that time.
Yeah, I agree completely. I want to actually shift gears a little bit because one of the things that I noticed, I think this was more maybe last year, the year before that, but you actually, I don't want to say rivalry because that's kind of the wrong word, but kind of went back and forth with Lane Norton, who we also had on this podcast not too long ago.
Oh, Lane!
So I know you guys have kind of been back and forth, but talk a little bit about that because that must have been, I mean, really, obviously there was a lot of pressure there because Lane's obviously a good competitor. You're a good competitor. I'm just curious, like, how that played out for you because you guys were at the same meets, battling for these top spots. And I remember at one point you were actually cheering for him. So I want to hear a little bit of maybe the drama that was going on.
Now we get to it. No.
Come on, man, people want entertainment. No one cares about bench.
Oh yeah, they don't care. People don't even care about numbers anymore. They just want entertainment, man. We're Spartans at this point. We're just gladiators in the ring, man. They just want to see blood. No, with Lane it was kind of cool because, like I said, I met Lane back in 2014, and I mean, I'll be the first to tell you, I didn't know who he was. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know who Ben was. I didn't know who Ryan was. I didn't know what anything was. I rode solo pretty much is from 2012 to late 2014. I just didn't really know anyone. So when I get there, they're like, "Oh man, yeah, you're gonna be going against Lane." I'm like, "Lane? Who's Lane? What are you talking about?" And meet the guy. He walks up, "Hey man, I'm Lane Norton. How you doing?" Blah blah blah. I'm like, "Hey, yeah, I'm LS. Nice to meet you." And my buddy's like, "Hey man, you guys gonna go at it?" I'm like, I don't know who this dude is. That was the day that he squatted 650. That's when I knew he was. I'm like, shit, this guy just squatted 650 like it was nothing. And I just loved his energy, man. Like, you guys know Lane as well as I do. I mean, he brings this intensity to the game that not a lot of people bring. And the guy has a lot of pride in what he does, man. So, I mean, it's anybody that has that kind of pride, I can't be mad at him. You can't even fault him. Like, man, if I could get that crazy and be able to focus on my lifts, I probably would. But if I get that emotional, man, I'll just forget everything. I just see red and I won't be able to function. Whereas Lane can see red and he can just pinpoint what he needs to get done, which is awesome. So, we competed against each other, and and that was pretty much it. Then later that night, actually, we all actually sat down and had dinner, and kind of got to know the guy a little bit better. He, ended up just being just a super nice dude, and so I was like, well, I mean, I can't really be mad at the guy. And then from that point, it was kind of like, all right, so you guys are gonna be battling back and forth. I'm like, oh, all right, so that was pretty much what it was kind of dubbed. Then, of course, I guess fast forward to the Arnold, we go against each other, and we go down to the wire again, and it was crazy. We both weighed. We had the same weight. We were pulling for the win, and I think that was when I guess it was all kind of the rivalry was really born. Coincidentally, that was around the same time we actually became really good friends. And then from there, like, we kind of exchanged numbers, man. We text till this day. We text each other, 3 or 4 times a month, man, just checking on him. He checks on me. He actually was texting me and messaging me during Raw Nats this past weekend. It's just crazy because you go against the guy, and every single time he's like, man, thank God my numbers are going up. He goes, man, but I feel like you're gonna get me one of these days. Like, man, I don't know. Like, that squat keeps going up. I don't know. I mean, so I just play chase. He'll have a bigger squat, I'll have a bigger bench, and then somehow we meet at deadlift, and he always edged me out. So I'm like, I got to get my deadlift together. Well, we were in Finland and competing at Worlds, and it was one of those things like, hey man, let's go get him. It's us versus the world. Let's go get it. And even then, that's when he kind of, he's like, well, if you ever need help, with weight, because my thing was like, I was really, really bad with figuring out my nutrition as far as like cutting and where I needed to be as far as all that goes. And I had a really bad cut. It was like, one of the cuts I've ever had to do for, the 93 weight class. And he's like, man, I'll help you. And, I think people always thought that we had like this thing where like we butt heads all the time, or when it actually, dude, he's actually one of the nicest people you will ever meet. It's just that, when it comes time for, rivalry time, like I'm all smiles, having a good time, but deep down inside, I want to murder you. Whereas he's outside, I want to murder you, but deep down inside, he's a super nice dude. So we have this cool little polar opposite thing going, man. So at this point, it's really one of those things where I'm not gonna lie to you, fellas. I want that rivalry back. I mean, I want this guy to get well. I think it would just be amazing for the sport having him back, having David Ricks where he's at, having Jesse Norris where he's at. Adding Lane to the situation. That'd be awesome. I want that rivalry. I personally want it back just because I feel like Lane brings so much to the table, and where we're at as far as the popularity and the growth of powerlifting, it can only make it better. It can only grow it exponentially. So he's a rival, but he's a friend. And I mean, probably my most respected rival that I have, aside from David Ricks. He's just amazing. And then of course, add to the fact, when Ryan comes back, that's going to be crazy. So, I really look forward to having, he texted me, goes, man, based off these, he's like, based off of what I'm seeing right now, I might have to retire. And I didn't even give him time to even explain himself. I was like, no, we need you back. Hurry up, get well, come back. So Lane, if you're listening, man, we need you back, dude. I want that guy to come back. I just think it would be awesome. There's going to be sheesh. That guy comes back, dude. That's like, with him, Ryan Doris, Jesse Norris, David Ricks, that's going to be four potential, that's literally going to be 493 squatting over 700 pounds. Wow. That has the potential to be absolutely ridiculous. And I'll take my little 680 and I'll just sit in the back and watch. It would be absolutely amazing for the sport. He's an awesome rival, man, but he's just an awesome guy, man. And like I said, I'm really looking forward to him getting well and coming back. He said possibly the Arnold. And I told him, you do the Arnold, I'll do the Arnold, pretty much. So, and like as of right now, I was going to take a break, and not do anything until World. So, but if he does the Arnold, I'll definitely do the Arnold. So we'll see how that works out.
The rivalry continues.
Yeah, man. Shoot, it's been crazy. It's only been 2 years, man, but it feels like it's been forever. You know what I mean?
All right, so I want to also get one little tip from you as far as what you do with your training that might be a little unorthodox. Everybody kind of has something that they do, and this doesn't have to be bench press specific, but that you do that you feel is a little bit unorthodox or outside the box in your training. Oh man, I'm the privilege, and it's almost I could say it's a bit of an unfair advantage because I actually toss human beings around. Like that's as a cheer coach.
I don't know if you should go around telling everybody that. It doesn't sound good, man.
Yeah, I mean it's a crazy it's the craziest thing. I mean, because I mean I have a co-ed squad. I have to instruct my boys on how to stunt with the girls and all that stuff. So a big thing that I do, man, is I'll spend a lot of I spend hours like these in my stunt sessions with my guys. Grab girls and we toss them. I mean all the different stunts and everything that you can do as far as cheer goes. I mean you're taking anywhere from 100-pound girl to 120-pound girl, and you're it's almost like a clean. You're throwing them from the waist as high as you can possibly get them, catching their feet, bringing them back down.
It sounds like a good time, man.
Dude, it is until it is until they don't hit your hands. They end up hitting the ground. So as long as you don't break your toe, you're good to go. The biggest thing, man, as far as that goes, it's a lot of explosion. I mean, it's because you literally have to toss dead weight from the ground above your head, catch them, and balance them. So I mean, you're working explosion, that initial explosion from the ground. You're working full extension, and then from there you're also working this negative, as you obviously you have to slow that body's momentum down as it comes back down. So you're creating just instant vertical inertia, and then of course at the same time trying to make sure that that you absorb, so you're getting a kind of almost a legitimate clean with just actual human weight. I do that, oh man, those stunt sessions, they last anywhere from 2 to 3 hours, a couple times a week, and so when we do those, man, I'm telling you, you have never, and I repeat, you have never sweat, you have never realized how out of shape you are until you try to spend a full 2.5, 3 hours. It's almost nonstop, man, because it's pretty much like 4 or 5 guys, 4 or 5 girls, and you just take your turn. Like you go three or four reps at a time, just trying to do different stunts and everything. I mean, and sometimes you grab them, sometimes you grab them, you toss them straight up. Sometimes you're grabbing them, you toss them straight up, but you're twisting them at the top, trying to catch them. Sometimes you're actually grabbing them and you're flipping them, a backflip in the air, then catching them, and then trying to keep them stable. So I mean, you're working those stabilizers out of just out of control. So by the time I'm done, with one of those, no joke, I've probably lost like 2-3 pounds every single time. It's probably the one most unorthodox thing that I've ever really actually added to my training regimen. That I feel it's very advantageous, just because it's something that not a lot of people get the opportunity to do, and at the same time, it's one of those things where it requires all of the technique. Any technique that one would have in terms of squat, you have to make sure that you actually, as far as like taken to a full extension, you actually have to dip below parallel, driving up before you lock out. I mean, it's an absolute must. As far as like the pulling from the ground, you actually have to have a legitimate grip, on the waist in order to actually finish up. So I mean, Lord knows how much PSI, has to be, created, to actually have grip on the hip to drive, to toss them up. So, and of course, just as far as the full extension, I mean, that's a direct reflection into your bench press. So as far as, actual like partner stunning goes, that's the one big advantage I feel like I have over a lot of people, because it's something that obviously I take pride in. That's my livelihood, but at the same time, it's one of those things that I've actually added to my regimen. I mean, and it's some good cardio. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's pretty ridiculous, when you actually get started and you finish. So I mean, you're getting so much out of it, than you would imagine. And at the same time, you look back on it and you realize I've spent, 2 to 3 hours doing this, and you get a full body workout with it, and you get a little bit of carryover into the big 3. So it's I wouldn't suggest it for everyone, but anybody out there that actually has a skill as far as partner stunning or is trying to learn, it's awesome. It's awesome to actually use.
All right, guys. Well, you heard it here first. New York Muscle Radio. In order to get an elite level bench press, you just have to start throwing people around. And you gotta throw people. You
gotta throw them. Throw people steak and potatoes, and you'll be good from there.
And sleep and nap during the day.
Yeah, for sure.
LS, thank you so much for coming on, buddy. We really, really appreciate it.
Hey,
I'm glad
man,
I was able
you
to talk
guys,
to you
thank
today.
you so much.
Where can our listeners find out more about you? Because I've been watching you, like I said, for a little over a year now, and you throw some amazing stuff up on social media. So let our listeners know where they can follow you at.
You can follow me at LSM97M. That's for the 97 touchdowns, of course, in high school. LSM. I got to do that. LSM97M on Instagram. That's just LS.
I just have to
McClain.
ask you really quick. Are you a Dallas fan then? Does that make you a Cowboy fan?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yes. No, wait. So who's your team?
Come on, man. You have to ask that question?
I mean, you're a Jets guy? You're a Giants guy?
Jets. I'm a winner, man. A Giant.
All right. I'll give. Listen, I'm sorry about what's happening with you guys. I really wish.
Oh yeah, I know it's pretty bad.
Listen, y'all should have kept Coughlin, man. He's. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on, man.
Actually, you guys got a lot going on right now. You got Prescott. You got Ezekiel Elliott. Man, those guys are running the show over there. You better hope they don't do something dumb and put Romo back in.
You know what? And I almost feel like deep down inside, every Cowboy fan doesn't want to admit it, but they almost feel like Jerry Jones is going to find a way to get Romo back in.
Definitely.
He's going to find a way. Dak's going to have to stay. He's going to have to stay super healthy. one wrong move, man. I honestly thought they were, they're gonna find a way to rip him out when he had that first interception. So I don't know, man. I think, honestly, Giants fans, Cowboys fans, we're very, very similar in that we get over 5 wins before the midpoint of the season.
I know we're going to the Super Bowl.
We start talking Super Bowl. I'm just glad, no joke. I'm just glad that Victor Cruz is back. No joke. I'm a huge Cruz fan, a huge Victor Cruz fan. I'm glad to see him back. I wish Beckham would get it together, man. That kid needs to get it together. If he gets it together, he could very well be the most dominant receiver in the NFL, and that's coming from a huge Dez Bryant fan. I just feel like Beckham has all the tools, man. He's just, he's got to get that temper together.
Yeah, I think it's part of the game, but I think it's part of the game. I mean, when you're at that level, you want to win. I feel like he's the only aggressive one on the team, so.
I can, you know what? I completely agree with you on that one, man. I don't see many of the G-men really, being as aggressive as Odell is. The kid wants to win. Yeah. I mean, so I don't fault him for that, exactly. But at this point, how it is, man. If you do anything wrong, you're gonna get put under a microscope, man. And it's just, if you could just keep it under closed doors, man. Because I would hate to see, the guy get, done like T.O. I mean, you could be an explosive, very, 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 very passionate person, man. But they can mistake it as, something completely different, So,
exactly.
I don't know. Like I said, you would not think that, back in the day I was a partial Giants fan, but the Cowboys has always been my number one team, and my number 2 team for a while there was the Jets. Don't ask me why.
All right, let's just stop right there. You said partial Giant fan, so go ahead. You can tell the listeners now where you can follow you.
You can follow me at LSM97M on Instagram, just LS McClain on Twitter, and I mean obviously my Facebook is just LS McClain, so I mean you can follow me on any one of those bad boys and get a kick out of the lifestyle that I live, I guess.
All right, well, maybe he'll post up a video of him throwing some women around, and my co-host will be thrilled with that one, right, big guy?
Oh, hey, dude, they're strewn all throughout, man. I actually got to post a video in the next couple of days after working with one of my girls. So we'll be posting some pretty crazy stuff, man. So you get a kick out. You'll see me throwing her, flipping her, doing all kind of crazy stuff, man.
All right, Ellis, thank you again for coming on, man. We really appreciate it. Big guy, your turn.
Anthony, Pete, thank you guys so much, man, for the opportunity. I really appreciate you guys, man.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Pete and Anthony with LS McClain, New York Muscle Radio, and we're out.
Enjoyed this episode of New York Muscle Radio? Make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave us a 5-star review, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, New York Muscle Radio.